Most of what people do to earn a horse's trust doesn't actually work. Not because it's wrong, exactly, because it's aimed at the wrong nervous system. You've probably been told that trust comes from time. Spend enough hours in the paddock, and eventually the horse comes around. There's some truth buried in that, but it's not the whole story. And if you've ever had a horse you've handled for years still flinch at a fast hand near its face, you already know time alone isn't doing the heavy lifting. What's actually happening is simpler and a little more uncomfortable. A horse isn't deciding whether it likes you. It's constantly running a background calculation about whether you're safe to predict. And that calculation gets rebuilt every single day, sometimes every single interaction. So today we're looking at three things, small, almost boring things that horses are wired to track closely, and what changes in the relationship once you start doing them on purpose instead of by accident. Habit 1. Predictability. The first one is predictability, and I mean something more specific than just be consistent. Horses evolved as prey animals, with a nervous system tuned for one job: detect change before it becomes a threat. Researchers studying stress physiology in horses have found that unpredictable handling, inconsistent timing, inconsistent sequence, inconsistent tone, keeps cortisol elevated even in horses that are otherwise calm. Not because anything bad happened, because the horse can't relax into not knowing. Vigilance has a cost, and an unpredictable handler is asking the horse to pay it constantly. So the first daily thing is this: do the same things in the same order, especially around approach and departure. Same greeting before you halter, same sequence before you leave the stall. It sounds almost too small to matter. It isn't. You're not training a behavior here. You're lowering the baseline amount of uncertainty the horse has to carry around you, and that baseline is most of what trust is actually made of. Here's the part most people skip, though. Predictability without choice can quietly become something closer to learned helplessness than trust. So the second thing matters just as much, maybe more. Habit 2. Respected choice. The second thing is giving the horse a real, observable choice in the interaction and then actually honoring whatever it picks. This shows up most clearly in approach behavior. If you stand still in a paddock and let a horse decide whether to come to you rather than walking up and putting your hands on it, you're not being passive. You're running a test the horse cares deeply about. Does this human respect a no? Horses that are routinely given the option to decline contact and have that decline respected show measurably less avoidance behavior over time than horses that are simply caught, haltered, and handled regardless of what they signal first.
That's not a small finding. It's the kind of thing that if you only remember one piece of this video tomorrow, this should probably be it. A horse that's allowed to say no occasionally will say yes more often and mean it. I'll admit this one is harder to apply consistently than it sounds on paper. There's a version of respecting choice that tips into being so hands-off the horse never gets handled at all, which isn't useful for anyone. The goal isn't unlimited choice. It's enough choice that the horse experiences you as something it can influence rather than something that simply happens to it.
Habit 3. Regulated nervous system. The third thing is the one most people have never even considered, and it has nothing to do with your hands. It's your nervous system. There's research on heart rate synchrony between horses and the humans handling them. Horses can entrain, to some degree, to the physiological state of the person next to them. A tense handler with a fast, irregular heart rate isn't hiding that from the horse just by keeping a calm face. The horse is reading something underneath the performance. This is the one that gets overstated online sometimes, so I want to be careful with it. It's not that horses are reading your mind, and it's not true for every horse in every context. Plenty of horses are far more reactive to your hands than your heart rate. But the directional effect shows up often enough across studies that it's worth taking seriously. Your own state of arousal is information the horse has access to, whether you intend to share it or not. So the third daily thing is almost embarrassingly simple. Before you handle the horse, take 30 seconds to actually settle your own breathing and drop your shoulders, especially if you arrived stressed from somewhere else. Not as a ritual, as information you're choosing to send.
Put those three things together, predictability, respected choice, and a regulated approach, and what you're really doing is giving the horse less to calculate. Less vigilance, less guesswork, less reason to brace. And a horse that doesn't have to brace around you is, mechanically speaking, a horse that trusts you, whether or not it would ever look like the soft-eyed, head resting on your shoulder image people picture when they hear that word. Most of it won't look like progress while it's happening. It'll look like a horse that didn't pin its ears when you walked in, on a day you almost didn't notice you'd done anything differently.